coaching every week. Somebody to talk to.
Awesome. Okay. So thank you guys for joining me for today's Financial Friday. We are going to be talking about SEP IRAs. As always, if you have any questions about anything that I bring up, happy to answer those for you. Reach out via Slack, email, request a one-on-one, and we can talk about those. But really, it's a opportunity for you to think about some options for regarding your finances that you might not have thought about before. So always talk to your tax professional, your financial advisor, whoever it is that you work with on a regular basis. And at least it gives you something to ask more questions about and be a little bit stronger with your planning that way. So we will get started here. So I know I used this one last week, but it really, let me get some more people in here, sorry. It really still makes a ton of sense that earning a lot of money is not the key to prosperity, but how you handle it is. And that's completely the mindset that we would need to think about when we are talking about saving for retirement. That definitely is, let's see. So I'm still letting people in here while we're going. That definitely is the mindset with retirement, because you need to plug away a little bit over a long time to really see that return on it. But SEPs are really interesting, and we'll get into that, the why about it in just a minute. But for anybody who is curious about what is a SEP IRA, okay? All of it stands for Simplified Employee Pension. An IRA is an individual retirement account. So as a simplified employee pension, it's primarily used by the self-employed or small business owner like yourselves that are either sole proprietors, single member LLCs, or single member S Corps. And then like other IRAs, SEP IRAs are fully owned and operated by the beneficiary of the account. That's you. While SEP IRAs are available to businesses of any size, they're best suited for the self-employed or businesses with very few employees. An employer that establishes a SEP IRA is responsible for 100% of the contributions and must provide equal benefits to all eligible employees. So that is why solopreneurs tend to use this one the most, because as soon as you bring on an employee that qualifies, you would have to put the same percentage of that salary to the SEP that you are doing for yourself. So that's one of the things that separates the SEP from some other traditional IRAs or solo 401ks or things of that nature. So contributions that the employer, and I say employer, but that's your business, right? Your business is the employer. Think of yourself as the employee. Contributions an employer can make to an employee's SEP IRA cannot exceed the lesser of 25% of the employee's compensation, or in 2022, it's up to $61,000 that you can put into this IRA. So bring that down to scale a little bit for you. $45,000 salary, if you're paying yourself that as an employee, your max contribution would be $11,250. Okay, and that's all a business expense. So that's a complete deduction from that taxable income on there. That's a lot more than the $6,000 that is the standard contribution limit for a traditional IRA. So that is why a lot of solopreneurs opt in for this exact one. An employer can also opt not to fund a SEP IRA in a given year, provided that all owners' employees receive equal treatment. Okay, so you can't choose to not give your assistant anything on the SEP, but you get the full 25%. That would be the differentiation there. Individual employees do not make the contributions to the SEP IRA, but rather the company contributes all the funds into the employee's account. So if you're looking at it as like a kind of like a pre-split or a post-split kind of scenario, this would be pre if you were paying yourself. So the company pays it, and it goes in that way. So if an employer contributes to their own SEP IRA an amount equivalent to 25% of their annual compensation, then that 25% is for anyone else as well. And the reason that comes up a lot in talking about these is there are people that might have other things going on within their family. So you might be paying your kids to get that tax benefit of paying your kids tax-free, which we'll talk about more on another Financial Friday. But if they're an employee of you and you have this, then they get the same piece, okay? But you are completely 100% ownership of this type of IRA, and you can manage what it all is contributing to. So SEP IRAs have the same investment, distribution, and rollover rules as traditional IRAs. With the investment and the SEP IRAs increasing tax deferred until the owner withdraws from the account. You have at a certain age, you do have to start taking them, but I believe it's 70 or higher. And so you have some time with that, but you aren't taxed until the time of the withdrawal. And here's the strategy that a lot of people use with this method. You know how a lot of people move to the warmer states or be snowbirds, later in life. A lot of that revolves around the strategy that if you spend X number of days in a state that it does not have income tax, now you get to take out that those dollars from these types of IRAs at a lesser tax rate than you would when you earned it. So a little bit of a strategy that is used, but I think, and I have some of the states that are up here. New Hampshire has different rules. It's not all income. It's just some, same with Washington, but these are the biggest ones. So you see a lot of people that are getting to a retirement age. This is where they're moving to. I mean, not a lot of people are moving to Alaska, I'm not gonna lie, but this is where they're going because of that tax deferment and because of that lesser income tax. So specific investment options available to each SEP IRA holder vary depending on where the account is held. Most brokerages permit SEP IRA owners to buy and sell most any kind of securities and including stocks, bonds, ETFs, mutual funds, money market funds, and CDs. Some brokerages restrict certain types of trading activity, such as options trading. But you can look on E-Trade. All of those other different individual types of trading options or brokerages, you can open a SEP IRA with them. I personally have mine through Guideline because it's a partnered integration with QuickBooks, and I had mine set up in less than 10 minutes and was able to start funding it right away. So you are eligible to establish that SEP IRA if you're either self-employed or a business owner. If you have employees, they are considered by the IRS as eligible for a SEP IRA if they meet these criteria. So they're at least 21 years old, have worked for the company in 3 of the past 5 years, and receive at least $650 in compensation, and that was the rule in 2021. All eligible employees must have SEP IRAs established for them. While an employer may set strict eligibility requirements, the same requirements must apply equally to all owners and employees. a business owner can change a company's eligibility criteria at any time, provided that it still meets the IRS criteria. So if you have something that's set up in place for you now, and then you do end up having an employee, you can change the criteria around your rules for it. But if they still qualify under the IRS ones, you still have to abide by those. So SEPs can also be combined with having other IRAs going on, other retirement accounts. Some of the tax benefits do change depending on the amount you put in a SEP IRA. So if you maxed out, for example, maxed out the SEP IRA, you might not get the same tax deductible benefits in a 401k by another employer as you would. So working with a financial advisor or doing some really strategic quarterly tax planning is when you're going to be able to see what should go where and save you the most money. Because that's the biggest piece of doing something like this, right? Is you're trying to bring down that tax bill at the end of the year. But one of the big things to remember too is this doesn't help if the dollars aren't there to put into the SEP IRA when the time comes. So it is a as you go along strategy. You need those dollars available to even make this work for you. So did I duplicate this slide? No, I didn't. Okay, sorry. So you can establish a Roth IRA even if you participate in the SEP IRA. But like I said, that max amount that you're annually allowed, the Roth IRA is unaffected by the sponsored plan. Opening a SEP IRA. Like I said, I had mine open in less than 10 minutes. And if anybody wants to talk about guideline as an option, I'd be happy to discuss it and why I chose it for mine. But opening an IRA is really simple. Most banks and brokerages offer a pre-approved SEP IRA plan prototype that meets IRS standards. The IRS also offers business owners the option of using its own model, SEP, or a custom plan. Employers must provide all pertinent information about the SEP IRA to employees, even filling out the document for yourself to have it on file. Even when I was setting up mine, this alert to say, do this yourself and file it within your documents for yourself came up 3 times. And so they really do want you to have this document on file. Then the business owner can open individual accounts for any other eligible people or other employees. The annual deadline to open and fund a SEP IRA is the due date of the company's income tax return. So the deadline to open a fund for an account for your 2021 taxes, if you were trying to lower that burden, is when the business files taxes in 2022. Yeah, see, I knew I duplicated a slide there. Let's ignore that. Okay. Advantages, wrapping that part up. Advantages of the SEP IRA, okay? Advantage 1 is the late contributions are permitted. You can establish a SEP IRA as late as the extended due date of your return for which you're making the contribution. So that's April 18th is the deadline for a lot of our structures for agents for 2021. So you still have even just that little bit of time now to do this with the right tax planning. That means if you were to receive an extension, you can establish a SEP up to October 15th of the year following the tax year for which you're making the contribution. That can have some really impactful retroactive tax planning, which is really one of the only ways to do a lot of that stuff retroactively. But as I said before, you have to have the dollars available to contribute to. Advantage 2, easy to establish. You can establish a SEP at just about any financial institution simply by filling out that IRS form 5305-SEP. This form is fairly simple and can be completed in a matter of minutes. Like I said, I've done it. I can attest to how simple it is. Advantage number 3, there's no annual information returns required. Many business owners are frustrated with the information returns required for some retirement plans. 401ks, for example, can get complex. It's not the case with SEPs. Once you set it up, there's very little that you have to deal with. The administration is easy from that point, and it's just basically set it and forget it unless you want to adjust any of those pieces. Which is a big difference from other types of plans. An advantage 4, discretionary contributions. You can contribute 0 in 1 year and max it out in the next. And for this reason, you have a lot of flexibility. It's great for businesses with large income swings or for individuals who need total flexibility over their taxable income. So then the last few things is everything has some sort of disadvantages, or there's something that it doesn't allow you to do that you should think about when you're doing all of these. So disadvantage number 1 is you may have to cover the other employees. And this is why I've brought it up multiple times throughout this. In many cases, if you have employees, you'll have to make SEP contributions for them at the same time that you make them for yourself. Generally, you must contribute the same percentage of your salary for your employees as you do for yourself. And what that means is if you put in 10% of your salary, your assistant gets 10% of their salary and contribute it. Now, is that a way to do it where you have a spouse or a partner who's stay at home, maybe they work within your business as well? Yeah, it's a way to contribute to their retirement account, just like yours, and it's a tax deduction of your business that is tax deferred. So as long as you want to be contributing to your future self, granted, it's not dollars you can use now, but contributing to that future piece, this is a really great option for them. You'll need to consider this if your goal was to merely maximize your individual contributions. If you do want to cover your employees, then the SEP totally works. On the other hand, if you're the only employee, this isn't a problem at all. This is really you being in control of how much you want to put away. Disadvantage 2, other plans may allow larger contributions depending on the structure of your business. It is possible that you would be able to contribute more under another type of plan. This depends on your salary or your net income and how much you were looking to contribute. So back to that example of $45,000 is what you're paying yourself as a salary. Your SEP max is at $11,250. If you want to contribute more, you might be able to do that with some other options, but it really just depends on what you're putting that salary at for yourself. So if you put your salary lower to try to decrease that tax burden that way, this might be a hindrance on there as well. And then the final disadvantage that really is something to think about for a younger person that is figuring out this process, because for a 401k or some of these other ones, you can withdraw funds against it, right? Take a loan out. But with the SEP plans, you can't. And you would be taxed at, I think it's about 10% if you withdraw anything from it early. So that borrowing piece for some people, if it is for the buying your first home or something along those lines. That might be what's going to make the difference between opening a solo 401k and doing the SEP IRA until later down the road. And you can move about this kind of IRA plans in the different pieces in a bunch of different ways. But like I said before, have your strategy that you're working with the financial advisor, with your tax preparer, with your CPA, and look at it often. Assess the goals that you're trying to meet and what you need to do to get there. If the plan changes, then you have everything in place to shift the way you're putting things in there. But the biggest thing too is start. Whether it's a SEP, whether it's a solo 401k, whether it's traditional IRAs or a Roth IRA, whatever that might be, start. The percentage of, how that that increases over time really changes the later you start. And it's always, well, I'll just get this year under my belt and pay off some things and get it all situated. And that year turns into 2, and that 2 turns into 5. And you might be more ahead in some aspects, but you haven't started this yet. And so if anything is the takeaway from talking about this today, it's going and assessing what you have in place, what it might be just for you with your spouse or a partner, and what might be through their employer, and what the big plan is. But what are your goals? When do you want to retire? When do you want to, say, this is how much I need by this, what do I have to do to it? And then lay out the plan. SEPs can be really helpful when you have, a variable income like a lot of agents do. So, the verdict, much like all types of retirement plans, you're going to have to analyze and choose the best plan for you. And if you're still looking for a way to do retroactive contributions, this is one of those options. So talk to somebody about it right away. If you have any questions for me, happy to, discuss them, point you in the direction of something. Let me know. Slack, email, give me a call, any of those types of things. Happy to help. Next week for Financial Friday, we're going to talk about payroll and paying yourself as an employee of your business. I know, quite a few agents that are already doing this, or I've helped get onto this process, but we're going to go into diving into a little bit deeper. So happy to bring that for you guys next week. Beyond that, that's all I've got for you today. Enjoy the sunshine. Have a great and productive weekend. Looking forward to hearing your guys' wins next week on Tuesday. All right.
Thanks, Chrissy.
Thank you so much, Chrissy. Thanks, Chrissy.
Yeah, have a good one.